I have no idea how to fix it.
It's the way that I feel like I'm 40 years old today. Like, why was it so hard for me to do this?
I was struggling. I did a test run because I don't use Zoom a lot with one of my friends.
Right, okay.
We struggled with it too. And I was like, but we figured it out. And then I was like, okay, so this is fine. And then it wasn't. It's like,
No,
and
no,
then
no, I totally get it. I was like, am I Chugi? Like, I'm like trying to like figure it out,
and
but
you,
I got
I
it.
saw the text from you and I was like, I'm in a 3 hour lecture. I cannot, I can't.
No, 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 I'm so sorry.
So,
I was working anyway too. So
it's-
you and I were like back and forth and doing all this stuff, but we've made it.
we did it.
This setup somehow works and we're on the call.
Yes. So, um, lots of stuff going on this season. Really
I know.
excited to talk to you about it.
I
You
know,
know,
likewise.
I was deciding what my first question had to be, and obviously it has to be, are you Pit Girl?
It's a very good question that will not be answered.
I figured that, and I figured
I wish I could give you an answer, but I can't.
I had to ask. I
Of
had,
course. You just kind of have to see, you know.
yeah,
Never know. Maybe someone will say something by accident. But it won't be me. Won't be me.
that same in that same vein, my next question would be, Jen being Pit Girl has been a hot topic of debate this season specifically.
Hmm.
Obviously, a lot of people assumed it was Mari beforehand.
Yeah,
Um, but there's been some things this season that have changed a lot of people's minds.
that is true.
Was that surprising to you with when the beginning of season 3 started to come out? Or were you expecting?
Mhm. And to be honest with you, you know what's really funny is that, and I'm sure you've heard this in other interviews before as well, we get drip fed the scripts as we are shooting them. So, for example, when it came to receiving the scripts for episode 10, so our finale, um, we actually didn't get that script until maybe like we were already halfway through shooting episode 9. We had kind of an idea of what was happening. We knew a general outline of what was Jesus, that car. We had a general idea of what was
Yeah.
happening throughout.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I'm trying to be as vague as possible, but I knew the outcome of everything that would happen when I started this season.
Okay.
And yeah, and was I still like surprised and enthralled and like all of that? Yes, I was. It's just it's so tough because I'm trying to be so vague.
That's okay.
But it was really exciting and weird because I was always a fan of the show too. And so my first question as well was who is Pit Girl? I mean, you can imagine I'm coming onto the show and you know, as a recast from beautiful Maya, and we both have long hair and dark hair and light skin. So in my mind, I was like, oh God, what's happening? So
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, Jen is an already pre-established character, played by,
Mhm.
as you just said. And it's a role that you stepped into for season 3.
Mhm.
Were there any elements that you felt were important to make the character your own? How did you do
Mhm.
this?
Well, I mean, I was kind of lucky in a sense because, I mean, fortunately, like we got to see a little bit of Jen and Melissa in season 2, but there wasn't a lot, right? There wasn't a lot to work with, and in one way that sucks because Jen and Melissa were like such great characters, and they still had so much charisma, and so many people still really loved them for based on what they got in season 2. But it was great because I was able to come in kind of at a perfect time where they were wanting to expand Jen's character. And I had my little bit to work with from what Jen and what Maya did before. And I was able to kind of like, okay, if anybody's going to come in and make Jen their own, it has to be now. Because now that they're actually giving more of who she is, it just it made it a lot easier. So basically, like my big thing was my relationship with Melissa.
Mhm.
So Jenna was like the first person that I asked. So I texted her basically immediately, being like, hey, you know, I'm not sure if you and Maya have talked a lot about where your two characters stand. Did you guys set up anything that I need to know before I come into this role? And, you know, I want it to be as smooth a transition as possible, even though they're adding more to Jen's character, so that unto itself is kind of not smooth. But the main core relationship of Jen Lissa was that was the main thing. Everything else, honestly, I got the freedom to kind of go from there. When I had auditioned for it, they said specifically in the breakdown for the audition, she's kind of a bitch. So I was like, love it. But then I already knew who Jen was.
Mhm.
So yeah, I knew kind of what I was walking into. And then my relationship with Melissa was the big thing, if that answers your question.
It does. It answered like three of my questions, actually.
Good. I'm so glad. I'm a yapper, clearly. So,
Love it. That's perfect. So coming into a pre-established cast,
yeah,
again with a pre-established character, that seems like something that would be extremely challenging.
Mhm.
How did you find that as an experience?
It was probably the most terrifying moment of my life. So what had happened is that we had a cast rehearsal before we shot anything. Um, and what that actually was just kind of like a meet and greet with everybody. We were seeing the new set because the set was not only new for me, it was new for all of us. Because in season two, they were all stuck in that cabin for a good portion of that season. And now we had the village and we got to see that for the first time. Um, and literally the night before, and I have never had this in my life. I had night sweats before like the night before I met everybody, which is hilarious because I wasn't as nervous before actually shooting our first episode, but I was so incredibly nervous to meet everybody because I've compared it a few times to kind of like entering a new high school in your junior year or something because people have been working together for upwards of 5 years because they shot the pilot about 5 years ago and they all have their pre-existing relationships with each other. And I was just so nervous that it's like, oh my God, this like new girl who, is coming in and she likes Yellowjackets, which is even worse. So I was incredibly nervous. I was incredibly nervous. But they're all freaking amazing people and Jenna immediately like went straight for me, took me under her wing immediately because she remembered what it was like entering as a new person
Yeah.
in season two. So did Nia, who was the recast of Akila, as you know, obviously. So season two was new for her as well. Sammy as well. Like Sammy made it very clear to take me under her wing. Jasmine was probably the first person who messaged me, period. So so yeah, it was much easier than I expected it would be. But I was the most nervous I've ever been in my
That's, yeah. I
life.
mean, as you should be. That's terrifying.
Valid. Yeah. Yeah, valid. But yeah, it was good.
Something big happened last week. Jen has
Yes.
officially been confirmed dead.
Hmm.
What,
Yup.
what were your thoughts when you read that? And were you excited for the reaction of everybody?
I was really excited for the reaction of everybody for like so many reasons. But
And Melissa is gone. Both of them in one line.
okay, so listen, I mean, coming onto this show and knowing the subject matter, I was like, there is a 99% chance that I could die. And so I came in like knowing that. And so to be honest with you, I had I had a certain amount of information by the time that um, they had had that little conversation in the car. So when I was reading that in the script, that wasn't something that was new to me. That was something that I already kind of knew. So I personally wasn't that shocked, but for some reason I didn't really think to because it was already in my mind and I already knew it. For some reason I forgot that that would really catch people off guard, and I was like, oh my God, like of course people are like, what the fuck? Like we didn't know that Jen and Melissa were dead. So yeah, it was really fun watching everybody's reactions, but yeah, it was exciting to see these reactions.
Confirmation of it, like knowing beforehand that like
Mhm.
they're gone was shocking. Also, one of the only times that any of the teens that aren't presently adults have been mentioned in the adult timeline.
I
So
know.
that was also an added whoa.
Yeah, they're like, I've never heard them speak Jen's name ever, period. Which
Um,
I'm like, yeah, it's
and
very true.
confirmation of Melissa in the adult timeline too. crazy.
Hmm. Yeah, I
So
know. It's crazy the difference between like seasons one, two, and three.
yeah,
Um, yeah.
I know you can't tell me,
Mhm.
obviously. Do you know how Jen dies?
Um, I do.
I know you can't tell me anything, but I just wanted to know if you knew.
Yes. Yes.
Very, very,
Yeah.
very cool.
Yeah. Yeah. That's all I'm gonna say. Like
Yeah,
I
you don't have to say anything. I
do.
just wanted to know.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
so in the last few episodes, Jen has been made public enemy number one, obviously because of what happened with Coach Ben and the
yeah.
shooting of a beloved character, Natalie. Did you
Mhm.
know that this would happen as soon as you read the scripts?
So I actually didn't. So again, we're drip fed the scripts as we go further and further along, and the writers have an idea of like clearer than an idea, but they have an idea of like where they want each character to go and what their arc is going to become, right? Right down to even Jen. And but they still want to keep this like air of mystery and surprise. So, in the same way that you guys watching it were like, whoa, what the fuck? It was, I had the same reaction when I'm reading them because I was like, whoa, like out of pocket, what the hell? But the one thing I will say is that I understand that the hate for Jen started happening around that kind of like trial period. But you guys also have to keep in mind, and I actually, like Sammy had said this to someone semi recently as well. You have to keep in mind that the edit does make a difference, right? So what we might have on the page is different from what you guys see in the end. And there's a rhyme and reason for everything that you see on screen, everything that like hits the cutting room floor and like what actually is showing in the episode to you guys as an audience. But my perception of Jen is based off of all of the information that I have, and all of the information that I have and the justifications and the nuances of what happened, or like maybe something happening and Jen looking directly to another character for approval. You guys might not see that, but I know that that is happening. So I'm very protective over Jen because I understand the justification and the reasons behind all of her actions. With that being said, I also completely understand that like like some of that shit is just out of pocket. And I understand that like you guys love certain characters too. So when Jen does some crazy shit, I'm like, valid. Like I get it.
I'm here for the crazy.
Same,
I'm here for
honestly.
the crazy. Shauna and Lana are
Yeah.
my two favorite characters.
Yeah, totally.
I'm
But
here.
they're two of my favorite characters too. And I promise you, like, and I know that this doesn't necessarily make a difference for people, and I completely understand that. But with everything that she does, there is a reason, and there's probably more, like, not even probably, there is more on the page and more internally than what you guys are always seeing. So have some empathy for her because she's really just she's going through the fucking ringer when they announced that Jenna Melissa was dead. And then people were like, let's go. I'm like, you know what? Period. So I get it. Trust me, I get it.
Yeah. What's been your favorite scene from season three to watch and to shoot?
Mhm. Honestly, like, and I hope it doesn't sound vain, but like truly the arrow stuff. Like the arrow scene was when I truly, when we were shooting it, I had that epiphany again of like, holy shit, I'm on Yellowjackets because there's no other show that I've been on that I would get to work with like a prop rig to like put the arrow through and to just be doing such crazy stuff. It was just really cool. You would think that the moment I had that epiphany was when we were like eating Coach Ben, but that just for some reason I don't know. But yeah, with the arrow stuff, I was like, holy, like this is something that I would just never ever have the opportunity to do except on a show like this. Um, so yeah, and I just love Jenna. Like I love her, and so it was just so easy to like work with her because we were already friends. So it was like pretty light and easy to do and just really fun to shoot. And then so kind of watching it back too, like that was really cool because I just got to see Jenna's performance because I knew firsthand with what I watched that she was really great. But then being able to watch it on screen, I was like, fuck yeah, like she killed it. But overall, I think if I take the arrow scene out of it, it's the our frog scientists walking in. That was
It's,
I've been like literally I was counting down the days until you guys would see that. Counting down the days. I
yeah,
was so
I understood why you said that we should do the interview after episode 7. After
yeah, right?
you said that the week of episode 4, and then episode 4 happened. I'm like, what happened? It's like, what happens in the next 3 episodes?
I know. Trust me, I get it. Yeah. I know it seems like, oh my God, so much stuff has happened already. And it's like, how the fuck could there be more? Sorry, also I
But
curse so
you're fine.
much. It's so
You're
bad.
good.
But yeah, no, I knew that this would be like a good time
Yeah.
to have an interview with you.
Um, so this was a question that I'd written that you already answered. Were you a fan of the show before auditioning for it? Um, but now I'd like to change the question.
Mhm,
Obviously, you're in season 3, but
mhm.
when did you become a fan of the show? Was it during season 1, season 2? And which of those two
Yeah.
was your favorite season?
Okay. I mean, I think you already know the answer to that. I mean, season one is my favorite season. And it's like I love so many aspects of season two, so many aspects of it. Like I was still loving season two when I was watching it. It was just that like, I think I'm not the only one to agree with this point. That like season one just like had this like magic juice because we were like being introduced to this whole situation. I thought that was just like fascinating. But there are some of my favorite moments on the show overall that are in season two. Like Sophie and Elise with Shauna giving birth. That is like one of the most incredible things that have happened on the show. And that's just owed to so much, but especially Elise's acting. Like, come on. And that was season two, which I loved. But I have been watching the show since season one came out.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So this is something I'm really excited to know the answer. If you were a survivor, who would you have wanted to play your adult counterpart?
Oh my God. That's such a good question. Um, it's so hard because like I was gonna say I'm a rare breed. That sounds so stupid. I just mean that like I'm biracial, right? So the problem is that it has to be an actor who, has like the light skin, the dark eyes, the dark hair. And yes, that is fairly common, but like I genuinely can't think of anybody at the top of my head who is in that age group that that could. I don't know. Do you have any people that you would have expected?
I have no thoughts.
Mhm. No, I the same. Especially because you kind of have to like think about it. Like I'm half Indian, half white.
Mhm.
I'm also incredibly fair-skinned. Um, and therefore like kind of racially ambiguous a little bit. So then you get into the conversation of like, okay, if there's an actor who's going to be playing you when you're older, like there aren't a lot of half Indian, half white actors there. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I genuinely don't know. I would be very curious to see. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
makes sense. Um, what has been your favorite plot line of the season so far? Is there one that you're excited for everyone to see the ending to? Obviously, you can't
Mhm.
tell us the ending, but
Yeah. The frog scientists.
yeah.
I know that's an easy answer, but it is something I'm really, really looking forward to. And as like an overall show thing, rescue. I mean, obviously we all know that that's going to happen, and that I yeah, just really am excited for all of that to unravel.
But when? But when?
I
Um,
don't know. Couldn't tell you. Couldn't tell you.
so this is a really basic question, but I feel like it always needs to be asked. Fan edits are something that the Yellowjackets fandom has an endless supply of. They specialize in it. Is there a song that you would like Jen to be edited to?
Okay, that is such a funny question because I've like made a joke about this to Jenna, so I actually have an answer, which is so sad. Um, do you remember when Hosier's cover of that of the song "Do I Wanna Know"?
Yes.
There were like a bunch of edits. It's like crawling back to you, like that being a Jen Lissa edit would hit so hard. It would be crazy. Like I was joking with Jenna. I was like, you know what? At this point, like I have such a good concept here that I'm just gonna create a burner and edit it myself, which I won't do. But yeah, I think that that would be like the funniest edit to me. It would be so funny. I would love to see that. So
That's sick. That's sick.
it's a good one.
But thank you so much for answering my questions.
Yeah, of course.
This season has been fantastic.
I'm really glad.
It is currently competing to be my favorite season of the show.
Yes. Okay, I'm really happy to hear you say that because when I was reading the scripts as they were coming through, I was thinking, and I was really like keeping the whole Jen aspect out of it, but I was reading the scripts, I was like, this might genuinely be my favorite season just because of like how much happens.
Yeah. Well,
So, yeah.
two of my favorite characters died in a matter of 2 episodes.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sorry for that.
Look at that.
Especially because I totally lied to you too.
Thanks for not voting, by the way. I really appreciate that.
That's a whole other thing though too. That was an edit thing, okay? Everybody's like, Jen is such a coward. She wasn't voting, period. No, I did vote
What was your vote? Can
as
I ask?
Jen.
Can I ask?
Um, yeah, if you want the because okay, so this is a whole thing too. But I completely understand why what made the edit. So, I so with that scene, there was so much going on, and Jennifer Morrison was our director for that episode, and she is just like phenomenal. Like I love her because she did Seven as well, and she's just like I love her so much. But there's a lot that goes on. Um, technically, technically, there was like another voting session where Jen did place a vote. Um, and whether that was guilty or non-guilty, I'm just not going to tell you because, I'm not the one who makes the edit. And the edit also adds to the storyline, right?
Mhm.
Things can change just based on what they decide to put into an edit versus what is on on the page, right? So there was yeah, there was other things going on, but ultimately what you saw is what it ended up as.
Yeah,
She voted guilty because like she wanted to stay alive.
yeah.
And maybe that's cowardice and I totally understand where you guys are coming from, but like you have to keep in mind of like what would you do in that situation?
Shauna Shipman staring at you like that. You're
Yeah.
putting
Yeah.
yeah. No,
And
I
now that you
agree.
guys are
I
seeing the
I'm a
type of
Gen lover.
shit, yeah.
I don't care what these girls are doing. I'm rooting for them every time. I'm not you
Listen,
guys. I'm excited
I
that Shauna took over. I'm really excited for the winter arc.
I mean, you're watching Yellowjackets. If you're watching it for them to have like a wonderful life, and like they're all making such good decisions, and they are like perfect characters who are not flawed, then respectfully, you're watching the wrong show.
Yeah.
You know, so if somebody has to be hated, I'll go on the cross for Jen and be that person. Is it hard being the actor of someone who is hated so much? Yeah, it is because I think it's difficult for people sometimes to like, I love the fans of this show so, so, so much. I think so many of you are just like beautiful people. But like also I think that it is a struggle sometimes for people to like separate the actor from the character, and that can be like a little hard because that's my first time dealing with this ever. um but again, you guys have to remember we're actors,
Yeah.
we're given a job, and if Jen is if I'm told that Jen does this thing, that's what Jen does, and that's who she is, and that's what she's doing. So it's like it's not my choice. I'm only here to like justify and know Jen at her core, and I do, but yeah, it's different. It's a different circumstance I've never dealt with before.
Well, I'm really excited to see the rest of season three, to maybe
Thank you.
see you in the pit, you or Hannah.
I don't know.
Probably not Mari anymore.
I don't know. Maybe, maybe you will. Maybe you won't.
Okay.
And I'm really excited to see people's reactions to whether I do or don't. I feel like people will either be like cheering or booing or who knows? It could be anything. It could be anything. Maybe people will be happy, maybe people will be devastated. I don't know.
Thank you
Who
so much
knows?
for talking to me.
Yeah, of course. My pleasure.